You won't believe what happened to me. It's been almost a year, and I'm still haunted by it. Ethan was everything I thought I wanted. Charming, successful, and the kind of guy who made you believe in love. 5 years of marriage, and I thought we had it all. But the night he vanished, that was the moment my whole world shattered. I got the call. The police said it was a boating accident. His yacht capsized off the coast near La Jolla. Blood on the deck, but no body. And that's when I realized it wasn't just the loss of my husband. It was the beginning of something much worse. Months later, the truth hit me like a slap in the face. Ethan was alive. Not only that, he'd orchestrated the whole thing, faked his death, stole everything from me. I was left with nothing. You want to hear how I took everything back? How I turned my complete destruction into the most satisfying revenge of my life? You better buckle up because this story is just getting started, and that day changed everything. Like and subscribe. Trust me, you'll want to hear how this ends. Let me backtrack a bit. My name is Victoria Hale, and I was living the dream. Well, that's what I thought. Ethan, my husband, was the golden boy of San Diego, a real estate developer with a killer smile and a polished reputation. We met at a charity gala of all places. I was there volunteering for a women's shelter, and he was bidding on art pieces like he had all the money in the world. And you know what? He did. Ethan came from money, but it wasn't just any money. His family? Old money. Voss money. Gloria and Harold Voss ran one of the most successful tech investment firms in the country. They were powerful, manipulative, and untouchable. Ethan had two siblings, Brooke, the socialite in Portland, and Caleb, the big shot lawyer in Chicago. They weren't just family. They were a well-oiled machine, each of them playing a part in maintaining the Voss empire. And me? I was just the girl who married into it. At first, I thought we were perfect. The beach house in San Diego, weekend brunches at fancy cafes, talk of kids, vacations. I had my own career too. I was a marketing consultant for startups, working long hours, building our future. But cracks began to appear early. Ethan was always away on business. Vegas, Phoenix, cities I'd never even heard of, but never a word about what he was really doing. It didn't take long for the whispers of affairs to start. Jewelry receipts that I never got. Gifts meant for someone else. When I confronted him, he gaslit me, told me it was stress from my job, that I was paranoid. Relax, Vic, he'd say, his voice smooth as butter. I trusted him. Big mistake. Then came October 2022. That night changed everything. Ethan vanished. The police found his yacht capsized near La Jolla, blood on the deck, but no body. I was heartbroken, devastated. They called it a boating accident, a tragic mishap. The media ran wild with it. Wealthy developer lost at sea was plastered all over the news. But as I stood at the memorial service in Seattle, I felt the chill of the Voss family around me. Gloria, his mother, had a grip on my arm, so tight it almost hurt. He loved you so much, she said, her smile too tight, too perfect. I was a wreck, but that wasn't the end. No, it was just the beginning of a nightmare I couldn't have imagined. And when I saw the will, that's when I knew I was screwed. Keep watching. This part is going to break your heart. The will hit me like a freight train. It wasn't just a simple document. It was a well-orchestrated trap. Ethan had left everything to his family trust, our joint accounts, our house, even my personal savings. It was like he'd written me out of existence. But the real gut punch, the debts. I had no idea he'd racked up so many. Loans in my name, credit cards maxed out, and then the IRS came knocking, claiming I was part of a massive embezzlement scheme that linked me to Ethan's company. I fought it. Oh, I fought it hard. But it was like trying to swim upstream in a storm. The Voss family swooped in like vultures. Gloria took control of everything. My house, gone. She evicted me. Her reasoning? Family property. My life was ripped apart, and it was all happening in front of my eyes, while I couldn't do a damn thing about it. And then the whispers. Brooke, from her perfect Portland life, was spreading rumors that I was a gold digger. Caleb, the high-powered lawyer, slapped me with lawsuit after lawsuit. Fraud, tax evasion. It didn't matter what I did. Nothing could stop the tidal wave of destruction that hit me. I was homeless. I was broke. And I was alone. My friends disappeared. My career was over. My life, once filled with hope and dreams, was now a heap of rubble. But I wasn't ready to give up. Not yet. I ended up in a rundown motel in Reno, Nevada, scraping by on waitressing tips. It was the lowest point I'd ever been in. I started thinking about ending it all. What was the point anymore? That's when everything changed. I'd hired a private investigator a few months before Ethan died, mostly on a hunch that something was off. I wasn't wrong. One night, in that dingy bar, the investigator slid me a folder. Photos of Ethan, alive, smiling, on a yacht in Miami. He'd faked his death with the help of some shady contact in the Bahamas. He didn't just disappear. He was hiding. And why? To escape his debts, to take the insurance money, and most of all, to punish me for uncovering his affair with Brooke's best friend. But here's the kicker. His family knew. Gloria was the mastermind. She'd orchestrated it all. The lawsuits, the embezzlement charges, everything. They were protecting the Voss empire. They ruined my life, and they did it all with a smile. I wasn't Victoria Hale anymore. I was Elena Voss. A new name, a new identity. And I was coming for them all. Stay with me, because you won't believe what I did next. It wasn't enough to just expose Ethan. I needed to tear down the whole Voss empire, brick by brick, and I had nothing left to lose. So, I started with Harold, the father, the quiet one, the numbers guy. He was buried deep in the financials of the Voss family firm, always calculating, always looking at the bottom line. To everyone else, he was harmless, just the accountant. But to me, he was the weak link. I moved to Seattle, keeping a low profile, blending in. Elena Voss was just another person trying to make it in the city, or so I thought. I managed to land a consulting job with the Voss firm, posing as a financial expert looking for some mentorship. A little flattery went a long way. Within months, Harold hired me, and that's when I started digging. The more I dug, the more I uncovered. Money siphoned into offshore accounts. Corporate funds funneled into private estates, ghost companies, secret investments. Harold was the puppet master, pulling the strings on the family's financial empire. But he wasn't the only one. Gloria was right there, pulling the strings from behind the scenes. And Caleb, he was just as complicit. I couldn't go public just yet. This was too big to blow all at once. So I did what any woman in my position would do. I tipped off the FBI anonymously, but not before I planted evidence to tie Gloria to the mess. The FBI raided the Voss offices, and while they were ripping through their files, Harold pulled me aside. "Who are you really?" he whispered, his face pale, eyes narrowed. I smiled, leaning in close enough for him to hear the words I was about to say. Family. It was the perfect moment, the moment when his world came crashing down, and he realized his secrets were no longer safe. I thought that would be it, that the Voss family would start unraveling piece by piece. But of course, nothing ever happens as planned. Gloria, ever the queen of control, turned her gaze to me. She invited Elena to family gatherings, asking questions, probing my background. I played the part well, too well. She knew something wasn't right, but she couldn't prove it. Yet, in the meantime, I kept pushing, kept gathering more dirt. It was slow, methodical, but it was working. I knew I had to get to Brooke next, the wild card, the one who thought her life was above it all, floating around Portland with her brand of empowered living while sipping mimosas at brunch. She was the easiest target, and I was going to make her regret ever crossing me. I started following her online, posing as another influencer in the revenge fashion space. She was an open book, spilling Voss family secrets like they were hot gossip. Ethan's death was all part of the plan, she told me one afternoon, laughing about how he called her from hiding to gloat. He was alive, free, and loving it. I twisted the knife. I leaked our private conversations to the tabloids, framed her as the affair's instigator, the reason Ethan had to fake his death in the first place. The result: her followers turned on her, sponsors bailed, and she spiraled. She checked into rehab in Aspen, calling her mother, begging for help. But she couldn't run from me. No one could. I sent her an anonymous package, photos of Ethan, alive, with a note. "He's coming for you next." Brooke's downfall was just the beginning. Caleb, the family lawyer, was next. I know you're probably thinking, this can't get any crazier. But trust me, it does. Caleb was always the hardest one to crack. The Voss family's golden boy, the sharp lawyer who prided himself on knowing every loophole, every strategy to win. He was the one who had filed the lawsuits against me, the one who had tried to bury me in legal documents, the one who had the power to control the narrative and manipulate the system. I hated him, but I knew he'd be the key to bringing it all down. I wasn't going to attack him directly. No, I had something better in mind. I posed as a woman looking for the best, most ruthless lawyer in Chicago for a divorce case, Elena Voss, an estranged wife looking to get revenge on her cheating husband. I told him. He was intrigued. He wanted to know more. I played the part, and before I knew it, I was sitting across from him in his sleek office, discussing the fine details of how to destroy someone. During those meetings, I quietly began hacking his files, using skills I'd picked up during my time in Reno when my life was falling apart. I'd taken a couple of online courses in cybersecurity. Guess it paid off. In his digital files, I found the motherlode, forged documents, all tying him to Ethan's massive insurance fraud scheme. Caleb had been in on it the entire time. He had helped cover up Ethan's debts, buried the real evidence, and even helped create false accounts to hide the stolen funds. It was too perfect, but I wasn't going to expose it just yet. No, I had a better plan. I blackmailed Caleb. I used the proof I had to force him to drop all the cases he had against me, no questions asked. He thought it was over, that his family's empire was secure, but he had no idea what I was doing next. It wasn't just about exposing them anymore. It was about watching them implode. The Voss family had destroyed my life. Now it was time for them to pay. Things started to crack. Caleb, suspicious and paranoid, began to suspect Gloria. It was at a dinner in Seattle, a tense affair, one of those family reunions Gloria had planned to keep up appearances. Caleb, his face flushed with anger, slammed his hand on the table. "You always clean up Ethan's messes," he spat, glaring at Gloria. "Now you're turning on me?" The fight that followed was ugly. Harsh words, raised voices. Gloria was furious, her perfect facade crumbling. Caleb was in the midst of a breakdown, accusing her of playing both sides. The tension was palpable. That night, the alliances shifted. Caleb was no longer loyal to Gloria. The Voss empire was no longer untouchable. It was crumbling piece by piece. But I wasn't done. Not yet. Gloria had a way of keeping control, a way of making people bend to her will. She knew what I was up to, but she didn't have the proof. She invited me to more family events, trying to find a crack in my story. And I played my part perfectly, feeding her little bits of information while keeping her guessing. But I wasn't just watching Gloria. No, I was waiting for Ethan to make his move. And I knew just how to lure him back. And that's when it happened. The moment I'd been planning for all along. The twist you've been waiting for is coming. You won't see this coming. I had them all exactly where I wanted them. The Voss family was crumbling, and no one knew it yet, not even Ethan. The only thing left was to bring him back into the fold. Ethan thought he was in control. He thought he was hiding out in Miami, living the high life, free from the wreckage he'd left behind. But I had a plan to draw him back into the mess, and it was going to be perfect. I tracked him down through a burner phone. Ethan was desperate by then. His funds had run dry. The money he'd stolen? Gone. He was paranoid, isolated. And when he got that mysterious call, a voice promising him safety, a way out, a chance to rebuild his life, I knew it was only a matter of time before he showed up. I had him right where I wanted him. He showed up thinking it was all going to be fine, that his family would take him back. But that's when I revealed myself. I was there, in the shadows of his old family's mansion, watching him walk in, his face a mask of confusion and guilt. "Miss me, darling?" I asked, stepping out from the darkness. His face went white. He didn't even have time to react. He was stunned. He didn't know what hit him. I'd spent months gathering everything I needed, photos, documents, recordings. I'd coerced confessions from everyone involved. And now I was ready to expose them all. The entire family, everything. The room went dead silent. Gloria, Harold, Caleb, even Brooke, they all froze. And then I laid it out. Every lie, every betrayal. I had proof of Ethan's fake death, the fraud, the manipulation, the affair. I had proof of everything. But the best part, Ethan had no idea I'd been watching him for months. He thought he was safe. He thought I was gone. But I was far from finished. And then it happened. Gloria lunged at me, fury in her eyes. "You think you've won?" She spat, her hands shaking with rage. But I wasn't afraid. I wasn't the same woman who had been manipulated, crushed under their lies. I was stronger now. The FBI stormed in. The tip I'd given them, the evidence I'd planted, was all they needed. It was over for them. Ethan was arrested, his world crumbling at his feet. As the authorities closed in, Ethan turned to me, his voice trembling. How? He gasped. How did you? I leaned in close, savoring the moment. You ruined me, I whispered. I rebuilt. And now your family? Pawns in my game. The sirens wailed outside, the sound of justice ringing in my ears. I watched as they took Ethan away in handcuffs, his face twisted in horror and disbelief. And for the first time in months, I felt peace. But there was still one thing left to do, one last secret to uncover. The final twist is coming, and you won't believe what I discovered. The Voss family was in ruins, but I wasn't done. Not yet. As Ethan was carted away in handcuffs, I couldn't shake the feeling that something still wasn't right. Gloria had whispered something as the FBI took him out. Something about secrets. I didn't let it faze me at first. I was high on the victory of watching Ethan's empire fall apart, but deep down, I knew it wasn't over. It couldn't be. It was only when I returned to the Voss mansion, walking through the same halls where I had once felt like an outsider, that I started to put it all together. Gloria was still a threat. Even with Ethan behind bars, she was the real power in the family. And if there was one thing I'd learned, it was that no one in the Voss family was ever truly out of the game. I dug deeper. I started reviewing every document I had on them, every secret I'd uncovered. And that's when I found it, hidden away, buried in the legal papers I'd taken from Caleb's office, was a file that no one had ever mentioned. It was labeled Contingency Plan. I opened it, my heart pounding. It was a trust document dated after Ethan's death. And it was tied to something I never could have expected. The Voss family had been planning a second fake death, a backup plan, in case things ever got too hot. The backup? It wasn't just Ethan. It was Gloria. She had been preparing to stage her own disappearance, to escape with the family's assets before everything came crashing down. This wasn't just about revenge anymore. It was about making sure that no one, not even Gloria, could walk away from the wreckage they'd caused. She had orchestrated everything. Ethan, Harold, Caleb, Brooke, they were all pawns in her game. And I had the final piece of the puzzle. I didn't waste any time. I sent an anonymous tip to the authorities, detailing everything I knew about Gloria's plan. The documents, the fake accounts, the offshore investments, everything. I knew the moment they started investigating, it would be the end of her reign. And it was. Weeks later, Gloria was arrested. The FBI raided her office, her home, and even her private vaults. She was just as much a criminal as Ethan. She had the power, the wealth, but it had all been built on lies. Watching her downfall was even sweeter than seeing Ethan in cuffs. But as I stood there, knowing that I had taken down the most powerful family in the Voss dynasty, I realized something. It wasn't just about revenge anymore. It was about reclaiming my life, rebuilding, not just from the destruction they'd caused, but from the person I had been. I had been weak. I had been manipulated. But now I was free. And just when I thought it was all over, there was one last twist. As Gloria was taken away, I saw her whisper something to me, her face twisted in a mix of fury and fear. "This isn't over," she said, eyes gleaming. "We have more secrets. You think you've won, but you haven't even scratched the surface." It wasn't over. Not yet. But for now, I walked away. I'd reclaimed my life, and they could no longer control me. What's your take on this? Have you ever had a family betrayal? Comment below. And if you want to know more, make sure to subscribe, because this story might just have another chapter. I thought I was done. I thought I'd finally earned the peace I'd been fighting for. But then I found out Gloria wasn't lying. It happened on an ordinary Wednesday, a few weeks after everything had settled, after the dust had settled on the Voss family empire. I was sitting in my apartment going through old paperwork. I figured I'd get rid of all the reminders of my past life, maybe move on once and for all. I was making a fresh start, and I didn't want to hold on to anything that could tie me to the nightmare I'd just escaped. But then I found it. At first, I thought it was just another file, another legal document I had pulled from Caleb's office. But as I skimmed through it, my breath caught in my throat. It was a document that tied the Voss family's wealth to something much bigger. And I mean bigger. The file was titled Voss Family Offshore Holdings and Future Succession Plans. The document was dated just a month before Ethan's death, and it wasn't just about family wealth or taxes. It was about legacy. Turns out, the Voss empire had been linked to something much more dangerous, a series of international deals, businesses, criminal enterprises, and hidden assets scattered across the globe. Money laundering, arms deals, political influence, things I never even imagined existed in the world I had once been part of. And at the center of it all, a shadowy figure who had never been mentioned, someone named Mikhail Dovchenko, a name I'd never heard before. But it wasn't just about the money. No, the scariest part came at the very end of the document, a section titled Backup Heir, Ethan Voss's successor. And guess who was next in line to run the empire, should Ethan have failed to come back? You guessed it, me. My name was listed there, in black and white, as the next Voss to carry on the legacy if Ethan had been permanently erased. Gloria had set it up. If anything happened to Ethan, she had planned for me to take over the entire empire. I stared at the document, numb. Gloria had tried to recruit me in a twisted way without me even realizing it. She knew I'd be the perfect heir, someone with the brains, the ambition, and the drive to keep the empire going. And the worst part, I had no idea. I thought I was simply seeking revenge, but she'd been manipulating me this entire time, planning my future without me even knowing it. But the real shock came when I realized that Mikhail Dovchenko wasn't just a business partner. He was connected to my father's past. The reason my father had mysteriously disappeared when I was a child. The reason my family's history had been covered up for so long. I didn't know how to process it. The family I thought I had dismantled, the empire I thought I had destroyed, was far from over. I wasn't just some victim of their lies. I was entangled in their web. And now, it seemed like the only way to get out was to play their game. So, I made a decision. I wasn't going to run from it. I wasn't going to hide. I was going to take the Voss empire for myself, on my terms. I'd already crushed Ethan, Gloria, Caleb, and the rest. But this was the ultimate power play. I couldn't trust anyone, not even myself. But one thing was for sure, the game had only just begun. What would you do if you found out you were next in line to inherit a dangerous family empire? Leave your thoughts in the comments and subscribe to see how this crazy saga ends. You thought I was done, didn't you? You thought I had taken everything back, exposed the lies, and walked away from the wreckage. But the truth is, that was just the beginning. Here I am, standing on the edge of a decision that could either destroy me or make me stronger than ever before. The Voss Empire? It's mine now. At least, that's what it feels like. But power comes with a price. and the deeper I get into their world, the more I realize that nothing is ever as simple as it seems. Gloria, Ethan, Caleb, they weren't just trying to ruin me. They were trying to pull me into their game, make me one of them. But I'm not like them, and I'll be damned if I let them win. I still don't know who Mikhail Dovchenko really is, or how much of my past is tied to this mess. But one thing is clear, I'm not done fighting. The Voss legacy may be built on lies, but now it's mine to control. So what happens next? That's the real question. I've taken down the Voss family piece by piece, and I've claimed their empire for myself. But with all that power comes an even bigger target on my back. Everyone who's ever been close to me is at risk now. My past is catching up with me, and it won't stop until I've either destroyed it or become a part of it. This is far from over. And if you think you've seen everything, you're wrong. I've come too far to stop now. If you've made it this far, drop a comment and let me know what you think. Should I keep going? Is it worth the risk? And don't forget to hit that subscribe button. Trust me, the real story is just beginning, and you won't want to miss what happens next. Because when you play the game of power, you either win or you get buried. Stay tuned.